Hello, you guys. So today, this is another psychic topic video, and I've received some great questions from you guys, and actually your questions were kind of the impetus for this video. I was wondering what topic to make this video, and I said, well, why don't I just answer some of the questions that you guys have asked me in my other videos. And so one of the questions was a good one, and the person asked if I didn't ask you guys whether or not you wanted me to mention who you are. That's why I'm just saying the person for now. But the person asked if sometimes when spirits come through me for readings, if I ever run into anything negative, or if anything negative ever comes through me when I'm doing a reading. And I thought, okay, that's a good question, because a lot of people have that question, number one. And number two, answering the question will allow me to explain sort of some basics on how being a psychic works for me, or how mediumship works for me. And so as far as when I'm doing a reading for a client, different things take place in order for me to receive information from spirit. But to clarify, I need to clarify, nothing is coming through me. That when I'm doing a reading, nothing negative has ever come through me, because I don't allow anything to come through me. They can just only come near me. Nothing is sort of, no entity, no dead human spirit, no living, no nothing is coming through my my being. I don't allow that. And so I'm not saying, I don't know if that's the case with other folks who do this, but for me, I don't, that's not how it works for me. What happens is they come near me. I call it, I can feel when they come near me, like literally to where they're standing next to me. I can feel it. And then I get the information from them. Like they're sending me the information that this person needs to know. And so I'm getting it from them. And sometimes it'll be thoughts that I'm getting, or a visual that I'm getting, or something they'll touch me. Like I say, a lot of times they'll touch me. Certain areas mean certain things. Sometimes I'll hear a ringing sound. Sometimes I'll close my eyes and I'll see symbols and pictures, and like that. Different, but that's how so when I'm doing a reading for a client and spirits will come and make their presence known to me, they don't actually like come through me or anything like that. It's like they come near me, and then I can pick up the information from them. I hope that I'm explaining that in a good way. And so that's what it is like for me. Now, so when I'm doing a reading, there has never been a time when something negative has come through to me, at me, for me, or for my client, or anything. I've never ever received anything negative, and I won't, because I block that. The things that I do before a reading don't allow anything of a lower vibration into my spiritual atmosphere. So, and I just make a blanket directive. Anything of a lower vibrational, lower than me, is not allowed in. And so that includes a whole shitload of entities bothersome beings that are not even allowed to influence at all. So because I just don't, I'm not that well enough and experienced enough that I feel comfortable just accepting any and all entities at face value, you know. So these things that you do to ensure that nothing negative comes at you are things that every psychic and medium needs to learn how to do. And so they're called boundaries. So, and that's another thing that, you know, that I wanted to talk about it, and that is boundaries and sovereignty is what I call it. So in order for a person to communicate or communicate with spirits for other people, or do readings for other people, or get psychic information for other people, or even to do mediumship for other people. If you're going to do that, if you have an interest in that, fear is one thing that you will eventually really need to get a handle on. If you have scenarios in your head like, oh my God, if I meditate or if I open myself up to spirit, I'm afraid people are going to jump me. It's going to be like, it's going to be like Hunger Games out there and I'm going to be toast because demons are going to just come running at me and take over me. That's not how it works, okay? So those are sort of concepts, those are things that, like Hollywood movies and books, sort of, they have those things and those stories that stick in our mind, and so we start believing that that's how it really is on the other side, and it really isn't like in the movies on the other side. It just isn't. I'm not saying that you will never run into a negative being. I'm not going to lie to you and say that. But what I'm saying is, you have control is my whole reason for this particular video. You always have control. You are the driver. You're the driver. You're not the person that things happen to. Again, remember, see my first video, my first or second psychic video talked about this. You are not the person that things happen to. You are not the person that things come to and come after. No. You are the person who is driving this ship, and that's the person that you have to be in order to do this kind of work. You have to have good boundaries. If you don't have good boundaries to begin with, in other words, if you let people walk all over you, or if you just accept everything everyone says whenever, and you have no discerning capability, nor do you feel like discerning anything, you just want to lazily accept everything that comes at you as truth, then again, maybe this is not for you, because just like anywhere else, just like here, in our neighborhood or whatever. I mean, if we're walking around during the day with somebody else around our neighborhood, it's different than if we're walking by ourselves on a Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning. The danger level goes up. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean that the neighborhood's dangerous. It means that you shouldn't go out there at nighttime by yourself. Does that make sense? Do you see the difference? And that's, you know what I mean? You have to see the other side like that. Like it's all good out here in the world where we live as people, right? But bad things can happen. It doesn't mean bad things are lurking in every corner of like everywhere you go, right? That's how it is on the other side as well. So just keep in mind, it's not the Hunger Games out there on the other side, okay? But it's not daisies and rainbows 24/7, 100% of the time either. You call into your reality, into your experience, whatever it is that is in you, in your mind, heart, and soul at that time is what you are going to see. That's literally how it works. So if you are in a bad space, if you're in a place of depression or addiction or some abuse at that time in your life, that is probably not the time that you're going to want to start communicating with the other side. I would not do that. And that's literally how it works. And if you ask any psychic or any psychic medium, they will tell you that that's how it works. And that's why we're always having to work on ourselves all the time, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to make sure that we're getting clear and accurate and truthful information. So that's the bottom line. So, all of those things like anger and resentment and not being able to forgive someone that hurt you and those kinds of things, you are going to learn through this process of learning your abilities. You're also going to be learning how to get rid of those things. So you see what I mean when I say learning to be a psychic isn't just learning to read cards for people. Learning to be a psychic is learning way more about your own shit too. So again, you are in charge of whether or not you are going to be taken over by any kind of evil spirits. And you are in charge of whether or not you are going to be given information by high vibrational beings like angels or Jesus or Source or God or relatives or ancestors, or you know what I'm saying? You're in charge of who you are going to be communicating with, basically. You have that responsibility. And for a lot of people, that's a scary thing, I mean, there was a definite time in my life when I had to really ask myself, do I really want that kind of responsibility? Because let me tell you, going through life not giving a fuck what I was doing or when or how or who or where was, in some senses, so much easier. I'm glad I'm not in that state anymore. I really am, but I'm not going to lie. I mean, this is more work. So, but the outcome, the reward is so much more fulfilling. And that's why we do it. That's why we do it, because the end result, it just blows our minds, and it makes us feel that kind of good that you just can't feel with anything else. I don't know how to explain it, So that's one of the questions that I wanted to answer, is that, spirits don't really take over or come through me in that regard when I'm doing readings. They just come next to me, and then they pass on information that I get through different means. And sometimes what spirits will do is communicate with me when I'm sleeping, via dreams, or even when I'm in the astral realm, when I'm asleep. And so sometimes spirits that's how they give me information on a client as well sometimes. So that's how I get it anyway. Some other psychics might be different, of course. And just like those of you who believe that you may be psychic and want to develop your gifts, each of you will experience information from the other side, or each of you will experience psychic information or information from the other side differently. Some of you will experience it in a visual way. Some of you will experience it as little dots of light that you see in the middle of the air once in a while. Some of you will experience it as a fluttering anxiety in your belly. Some of you might experience it as like a brushing the side of your head. I mean, there's so many ways. And so those of you who are wondering, what are those first steps that I should take if I believe that I am psychic, or if I want to develop my psychic gifts? What are some first steps that I can take to find out what my gifts are? So what I would say is, the first thing to find out what your gifts are or how you receive information. You need to set a time where you can be alone and where it's quiet. And even if that means, while everyone is home, you can just tell everyone, you're going to be napping for 40 minutes or an hour, and you don't want to be disturbed. Or you can say you're giving yourself a wax job or whatever for 40 minutes and you can't be disturbed. So then what you want to do is you want to shut off all electronic things. You want to be in as quiet a place as you possibly can without external stimulus, without noise or lights or anything coming from outside. So then what you want to do is you want to protect yourself, but you don't want to get into a fear space about it, okay? So that's the difference. And anytime I'm doing a reading, I prepare myself by protecting. But I don't do it in the way like, oh shit, I gotta protect myself, because if I don't, shit's gonna come at me. I can't. You can't get into that thing about it. You just can't. That's gonna mess you up more than anything. And if you're gonna invite something bad to you, that's when it's gonna happen, because you're thinking about it. That's what I'm saying. Don't think about it, okay? Because energy follows your thoughts. Remember what I'm saying? Don't think about it. Think about the business at hand, what you're going to do, what you want to do, what the goal is. You want to connect with spirit of a higher vibration, and you need to specify. You don't want to connect with anybody. You don't want to connect with just any old freaking buddy. You don't want to walk down Central Avenue in your town at 2 a.m., and just talk to everybody that's there on the street at 2 a.m. No, you want to choose who you want to speak to. You want to let the universe and God know what it is that you're wanting. You have to state what your intention is. And you can either state that out loud or in your heart and in your head silently. So now, when you first start, I realize that you can feel uncomfortable about it and kind of scared a little bit for quite a while when you're first new at this. I understand that, and that's normal. That really is normal, and it's nothing to beat yourself up about, but it is something to just be aware of. Just be aware of your fears and be aware of your biases. Because when you sit in that quiet place and you want to ask God to give you some sign of how you will receive information from your guides. Okay? Ask God, please show me how I will receive information from my highest vibrational guides. And then you sit there with your eyes closed and you just listen to the quiet. And you notice. What do you notice? What do you feel? Do you feel any vibrations? Do you feel anything brushing your skin? Is your stomach starting to flutter? Are you starting to cough? Are you starting to get a headache? Are you starting to feel a buzzing in the middle of your forehead? Are you starting to get sort of a feeling that some event is happening, and not necessarily seeing anything, but you just feel sort of like there's an event going on? Or maybe you hear words in your mind, or you see an image in your mind, or maybe it looks like even a movie, or maybe it looks like a still photo. Maybe you feel a warm sensation in your stomach. I mean, these are all ways that you can receive psychic information. Okay, it's not like in TV or in the movies where you receive psychic information always visually, and it's always like a movie, and it's always in color, and it's always really clear, and you can tell. It's not like that, okay? It's not like that. When you develop it, eventually it can be like that. But when you're first starting out, it takes a while to develop to be like that. So when you're first starting out, you get subtle information. That's why they call it the subtle realms. They call the spiritual side the subtle realms, because the information you get is very subtle. It's not like very third dimensional and heavy and like material and gross like it is here in this dimension. So so you have to really sort of just be in that silent space. Don't preconceive how you're going to receive something. Just be open to receive it in any way you can't even think of. And just take note, and make sure you take something to write something down on, a pencil or a pen and a pad or a piece of paper. And write down after you're done with your meditation, write down everything that you thought you felt, everything you thought you saw, felt, remembered, a memory that came up about someone, even if it's something you don't even think is relative to a psychic event. Write it down. If it happened while you were asking God or Spirit to how you process psychic information, just write it down. And now you don't have to remember it. It's written down, okay? And trust me, there's going to be a time when you'll run into something 2 or 3 times, the same kind of feeling, and then you'll notice, because you write it down, that you feel that feeling whenever you are going by a certain place, or you feel that feeling whenever you ask a certain question, or you feel that feeling whenever you're talking to a certain client. Now you start narrowing down. You see what I'm saying? So Spirit paints like a trail of breadcrumbs for you to follow, and that's what it's like. That's what it's like when you learn what your gifts are. And so the more you do that, meditating silently, the more your gifts, the more you will get to know what those gifts are, and the more that they develop, because now you'll be paying attention to them. And when you start paying attention to something, what happens, right? When you thoughts or things, you put energy towards something, now the universe is going to start forming things in that direction. All right, and so that was that. I hope I answered that question, and then some. And then I got another question. Someone asked, what are the common questions that come up during a psychic reading? And so some common questions. This is a person who was curious about getting a reading, and people ask questions about career or finances or relationships, or things like trips or vacations, or moves, like moving. Sometimes they'll ask about a loved one who's passed away. Sometimes they'll ask about a loved one who's living. Sometimes they'll ask just general questions about themselves, maybe perhaps their health, or just something, perhaps they want more insight into themselves, what they did during a certain situation in the past, things like that. Sometimes people just say, well, just, I don't really have anything specific, just tell me what you get. And so I can do those too. And so that's what happens. And I'll get information in different ways. Like I said in a couple of videos ago, a couple of psychic videos ago, I'll get information in different ways. So that's why when I do a reading, not only do I protect myself, but I also just totally come from my heart chakra. Like, that's where I operate from. I don't operate from any place else, because I figure, I just go for I go for source. I don't go through my guides or spirit, or I just go straight to God, and that's who I talk to. Because what happens, I find, is that if you're asking God and you're saying, God, I want you to help me, well, God's going to make sure that your guides and such are going to help you. So that's how that works. So I hope that answers those questions that I received on my last psychic video. So thanks for watching, and if this was helpful in some way, go ahead and give me a thumbs up down below, and comment down below with what you feel the way that you receive information is. I'm just curious to see all the different ways that people can receive information. So again, hit that subscribe button if you want to be notified whenever I upload a new video. And I upload a video from 1 to 5 times every week. It's either going to be a Lush video or some other kind of bath and beauty vendor video or a psychic video. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon on the next video. Bye bye.